All right, what is going on, everybody? Quancredible here with a review for chapter 78 of Four Nights of the Apocalypse. In this chapter, honestly, it was very unexpected. I'm not gonna lie, like it was very unexpected to see the exact direction that this chapter took because honestly, everyone and their moms expected Meliodas and Arthur to fight, but just not for Tristan to be so involved in the way that he was. Um, One of the first things I want to talk about is in the beginning of the chapter when we see like Arthur take out his sword or whatever. Is it's kind of weird because this isn't Excalibur or any other sword we've seen him use before in the past. This sword looks like a Chris and it has like a different kind of emblem on it. I'm not for sure myself what it is. I was seeing some people say that it's like the mark that means Omega or something. I'm not for sure what significance all this has, but it's very odd because I really did think or thought that he would have kept Excalibur, like especially after it transformed into its final form after fighting against Kath and all that. I really thought that would be the sword he'd kind of use and carry around. So I wonder, like, did Excalibur transform into this shape, or can he like transform it into whatever kind of sword-esque weapon or weapon he wants? Or is this a separate sword altogether that he's just carrying with him? It's very interesting because I know that there is some significance to this, but I just don't know what the significance is. But after all that, we do get Meliodas blitzing right into Arthur, and it just looks amazing. Honestly, the fact that their fight is on such a high level that even just the energy off of their clashes is like breaking apart mountains and like destroying the area near them is really, really hype. I will say this though, Meliodas is he's also nerfed right here when you think about it because of the fact that he's fighting in Leonis. So he can't really go all out because he is still the king. So he doesn't want to destroy Leonis in the process of fighting. So that's kind of another thing to think about. And I noticed this later too. It's funny because everything that's happening to Leonis with it getting like destroyed and broken apart and all of that is in the past they had Merlin to fix everything because Merlin could kind of just snap her fingers and just rebuild the entire kingdom in like an instant. But they don't really have that anymore, so it's like all the damage is like pretty permanent. So he probably wants to try to keep it at a minimum. Which is interesting because these two are still like this is like base to base, like so there's no crazy powers happening in this exact instance. They're just like crazy strong. Like even Percival and Donnie are saying that like it's like a catastrophe. So it's definitely wild. But in this is where we have Tristan making his presence known in this chapter. With Tristan, since he can't change back, it's almost like his demon form is really sending him into more of a rage. And it's kind of different because I thought he'd be more of like a attacking friends and foe alike, not really caring what he did, similar to how Meliodas was when he transformed. But really, it just seems like he's just really irrational. He can't like really think straight, and he just wants to fight. That's kind of more what it seems like, which I mean isn't as bad as the other one, but it's still almost as bad in this exact situation because he's trying to fight against Arthur, but he's nowhere near Arthur's level, even so much to the point to where he is like obviously holding Meliodas back in this fight. And and we see in this panel right here where Arthur straight goes for Tristan's head. Like he tries to chop his head off, but Meliodas does stop it. And I thought like it really goes to show that like there's really not much good Arthur left in there if he's going for like decapitation on one of his friends, like someone he looked up to. He's going for their child's head. So it's like if there's any slight doubt inside of anybody's mind that Arthur wasn't completely evil, this pretty much should have sealed it right there. After Meliodas does save Tristan, he does, do his full demon mark and does Trillion Dark. I will say this topic is rather weird for a lot of fans of Seven Deadly Sins, so I want you guys' opinion on it. How do you guys feel about Assault Mode Meliodas versus this full Demon Mark Meliodas? Because I know a lot of people will say, this full Demon Mark on his forehead when it's like the completed circle is kind of indicative of a Assault Mode-esque power, and he doesn't necessarily have to don all the black to show that he's using full demon power, such as in the Cursed by Light movie. Or there are some people that say no, he still has to undergo the full, assault mode transformation and look like that to have that type of power up. I kind of want to know where all you guys stand on that. Do you guys think, it's the full circle and that's the assault mode? Do you think he has to transform to show he's using assault mode power, or maybe you think it's just in his base? Because I mean, after all that whole Demon King stuff, and we never really got to see assault mode again, so it's kind of like, how do we know when he's using his full power, I guess? So I definitely want to know what you guys think about that in the comments. But like I said, Meliodas does attack Arthur with Trillion Dark, and Arthur handles this attack really with no issues at all, which is kind of wild considering this attack absolutely destroyed the Demon King in Purgatory. Like he stood like zero chance against this type of attack. So Arthur's just like so far above him, it really didn't do all that much. And then Arthur does note that it's dark enough that it has mass. Maybe when there's like an official type translation, this will make a little bit more sense. But at this moment, I'm assuming he's trying to say that, oh, like these spheres are so condensed that they have mass. So like they're like spheres of darkness, which is really what's making them like so dangerous. I also really like this panel of Percival here, where like Percival, he sees King Arthur, and like Nansen's like, you know, no, he's like way out of your league, don't even try it. And like I really think this, along with a lot of other things that have happened, are really going to push in Percival's mind like how weak he really is, and like it's really going to make him want to train and learn how to use his powers better and more effectively. I like that they just took that one panel to highlight that. I thought it was really good. And then the next biggest thing to look at here is with Tristan going out of control, he doesn't really realize the type of danger that he's putting his father in. And even so much to where Arthur is even talking to him and like, you know, like you're holding your dad back, you know, I would have been hurt a lot more, you know, Meliodas wouldn't have got hurt at all, which is a crazy statement to think that Arthur was alluding to Meliodas being able to do more damage to him than what already happened. And like the fact that Meliodas wouldn't have taken any damage, Arthur's kind of making it sound like in this moment they're closer to equals, and that Tristan is kind of the only thing tipping the scales. Whereas, like I've said numerous times in the past, I've always believed Arthur, you know, with being fully absorbed chaos, to be much stronger than Meliodas. So it's kind of interesting that he would give Meliodas a compliment like that. And then from there, Arthur does call Meliodas a bad king for kind of worrying about his son in this type of, you know, scenario where the whole country is in danger. Whereas Meliodas, like, you know, he wouldn't be a good king if he didn't, which I kind of enjoy because it's two different ideologies on how a king should behave. I know a lot of people would say that, you know, the king should put the country's needs over their own. But then there's a lot of people who are like, well, if I can't even handle my own home or my own family, I don't really deserve the right to call myself a king, which I kind of feel like both viewpoints are valid in their own sense. I don't know which one I would really fall into, but I think both viewpoints are definitely valid. To then Arthur does the slimy villain move, and he goes after Tristan while he can't really control himself, which Meliodas does protect his son and take a slash across the back, and that's the end of the chapter. So as for where this chapter could go next, it's very interesting because I'm not seeing to this moment how they could all like escape and everything could be like, you know, all happy after this. I'm not seeing how that happens. I mean, the only things that I could think of is maybe from here Meliodas powers up even more, maybe shows us a new level of power that we haven't seen yet and defeats Arthur. And maybe not like defeat Arthur, but I guess get him to retreat. There's always the possibility that someone had brought up to me that this Arthur could be a clone of some kind. We don't know if Arthur has some type of cloning ability, but with chaos you really can't rule anything out. But that, like I said, that is a possibility. There's a possibility that this is only a Meliodas clone, which I highly doubt that one. I mean, because his clones are only a fraction of his power, like split up using Lost Vein. So unless Meliodas got like way stronger to where it's like only a fraction of his power is rivaling Arthur, that would be kind of crazy. That would be kind of wild if that was the case. There is also the possibility that Arthur does just straight up, like I said, defeat Meliodas, but then from there I don't see what stops him from conquering Leonis and just taking out the four knights right there. Another thing that I thought of that he could, you know, that could get Arthur to leave is if some of the other sins start showing up, like say like Bon and King show up. Maybe Arthur doesn't want to have a full-on war right now with everybody, so he kind of leaves. That's kind of another option. It would be a little strange because I don't see necessarily how they would know what was going on in this random moment to just show up. Maybe Elizabeth steps in. As we know, Elizabeth is extremely powerful. I kind of doubt she would leave her dad's side, considering the state he's in, and considering that they are targeting him. So you never know what they could be scheming to try to kill Bartra. But Elizabeth, if Meliodas was in true danger, along with her son, she would 100% step up and want to. Well, I don't know if she'd want to fight. It's kind of interesting because Elizabeth never fights. Like she used to fight. But ever since coming back, she doesn't really fight ever. So maybe this could be enough. I don't really believe her and Arthur were super close, but she values everyone's life so high. it would be really interesting to see if she actually did do something. I think that would be a good character moment if Elizabeth like stepped in and actually fought to show that she was willing to put aside how much she cares about people to protect her, husband and a son. It would be really interesting to see if she did. But those are just kind of a couple ways it could go. Honestly, for me, I'd like it if, say, Meliodas could somehow find some type of power or use some type of ability that we haven't seen yet and was able to kind of fend off Arthur a little bit. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of using clones, I think if this was a Arthur clone, that might be the best case scenario because it would make sense. Because Arthur did just say it was an assessment, not a full-on attack. So it makes sense you would just send a clone to make an assessment, not necessarily fight all out. And then it could give kind of a reason why this version of Arthur could lose. Now, like I said, that's just what I want. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I really don't. I don't think we're going to go the whole clone of Arthur route, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to wait and see what Nakaba does. This chapter, to me, I honestly thought it was going to be a little bit more hype. It was more of a unexpected twist with Tristan being more of a hindrance. I would probably give it like, I want to say like a 9 or something, but it just didn't hit me that hard. Like even when I was reading it the first time and the second time and third time, it didn't hit me super hard. So I'm gonna give it like a 7. I don't know. I'm just giving it a 7. It just didn't grab me. So let me know how you guys feel about the chapter down below in the comments. Make sure you guys tell me how you guys feel about the whole assault mode thing. Do you think he is the full assault mode power with just a full demon mark, or do you think he still has to don the form entirely, or maybe like I said earlier, maybe you think it's just in his base and he doesn't have to do anything? So let me know that down below and how you felt about the chapter. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like the video. It does help me out a lot if you guys do that. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all in my next video.